Hello everyone, my name is Noah and this is the Stet Studio. Today we're going to be setting up my bullet journal for the month of June. I am a little bit behind, more so than I'd like to be. Obviously it's already June the 5th when you'll be watching this. Hopefully it's not later. But, you know, things have been busy lately and I just haven't had a chance to make this video, so we're going to do it now. And yeah, I'm really excited. This is my Archer and Olive bullet journal, the same one I've been using all year. I have had some changes in this bullet journal this year and just kind of made things more of something that I can use that isn't intimidating, that isn't a lot of work to keep up with, and it really just has made the practice of using it and setting it up each month that much more enjoyable. It is a linen cover. I really do like it. The paper is nice and thick. The only thing I don't like is the darkness really allows for all the dust and just everything to show up on it more so than it would. But, you know, you can't have everything. It's alright. I have some ink, some stamps. I also have my otographic liners, a Tombow brush pen, and a few other, I think they're mostly Pitt Artist pens, but just a few other random pens. I'll mostly use the otographic liners. They're my favorite. And then I have my mild liner highlighters, as well as 4 new Tombow pens. And I got these specifically to be lighter versions of certain ones of my mild liners, which is why they're in here rather than with the other one. And then I also have this random campus stamp liner pen brush thing. It does little hearts. You can't really see it on my skin. Let me find some paper. I don't know why I was trying to do this like a beauty guru, putting it on their hand swatching stuff, but this is what it does. It makes little heart stamps, and I mean that's fine. I didn't order it. I don't really know why I got it other than it must have just been accidentally included in my order. But yeah, so we have everything we need. I'm going to bring you down closer and we are going to get started, and I'm going to listen more to my audiobook. I am currently listening to She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, and I'm really enjoying it. It reminds me a lot of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I mean, they're both set in similar places, but the characters as well remind me a lot of each other, and so does the, like, war aspect, which, I mean, you know, that's kind of vague, but still, I don't read a lot of books that take place in wars or about wars, especially more realistic fantasy wars. So yeah, there's some similarities. Anyways, like I said, I'm going to bring you down closer, turn my audiobook on, and get to work. So the very first thing I started with is my cover for this month, as usual. I decided I wanted to have a little bit of strip of coffee stained paper where I could stamp the name of the month down and glue it in. Normally I would stamp on the paper before gluing it in just to make sure it looks nice. If I have the chance to redo it, I'm going to take it, but I didn't think of that this time. I forgot and did things out of order. But honestly, it turned out really nicely, so crisis averted. I really like the look of stamps, especially with my gray ink, and the longer I use them, the better I am at stamping. It's kind of really interesting to look back and see how it looked in the first couple months of the year. It was not great. The quote for this month is, "Do not confuse guilt with conviction. Guilt is self-centered and only leads to destruction and obsession. But conviction brings balance, a sense of purpose beyond oneself," which is by Jordan Ifweko, and it's a quote from the book Redemptor, which I read during May and very much enjoyed. I really have been enjoying bringing quotes from books that I like and have liked within the past month or so into my bullet journal, and I actually do this again later at the end of the spread, which you will see. While we're doing this, I don't know if you saw when I was opening up the bullet journal, but I didn't use the tarot spread that I made. I took 2 pages to draw in every day of the month of May, and then space to write down what I did for tarot that day. I did tarot for the first 3 days of May, and that was it. So you will see later I condensed it down. It didn't work. It made me feel really guilty for not using it, so I changed it up. Back to the book this quote comes from. I would 100% recommend it. It is, I think, a young adult book. It could be adult fiction. I'm not sure. It's definitely appropriate for either age group. I did decide to add in some color stripes at the top since I was excited to have my new Tombow markers, and I just wanted to kind of continue that color coordination. The next spread is the June overview, and this is my monthly calendar. I always do 6 by 6 squares, so 6 spaces by 6 spaces, and I really like that size. It gives me enough room to write things down, and I can fit a whole calendar in one page. These calendars do start on Monday. I just find that to be what makes sense for my brain. So every calendar I will make in here will start on a Monday. I'm sorry if that bugs you. You don't have to do it that way in your bullet journal. And then we have a key at the bottom. This was something I added for the first time last month, and I really liked it. I used to just highlight events in my monthly journal in whatever color I wanted, and didn't really care about it, whatever I could grab. But honestly, I do like the color coordination that I've started doing. I basically just use any color that's not the quarterly color, because each quarter of the year has been assigned a color. And then I added in the numbers. Obviously, it's the best way to know what day it is to have a number in there. And you will see in a minute, I do add in some of the markets that I'm going to be doing this month. There are quite a lot. I do a lot of Pride events because I have a lot of Pride artwork. Not every single piece of art or every product I make is Pride related, but I would say about 85 to 90% of it is. Then I added in the days of the week, like I said, starts on Monday. And I did stamp in June overview, and I think it looks nice. And I do add some color to it later with the highlighters again. Or rather, I guess the highlighter and the Tombow. You'll have to tell me which you prefer. Do you prefer mild liners or Tombows, or do you use both of them? I am still preferring the mild liners, but I'm sure as time goes on that might change. And then the green, these are all the markets. I filled them all in with the names of the markets, and if you're local to Pittsburgh and you're watching this at the beginning of June 2023, you can go to my social media and check out my social media, and it'll have all of the different markets I'm going to be at. And, you know, if it's the future, you can check it out and see what I'm doing then too. But yeah, that's my self-promotion for this video. But I like to have everything listed out in this way, even if I don't use this calendar as much as I use my daily spreads, just because it gives me an idea of when am I going to be the most busy. And this was something that happened when I was in schools. Like, my Wednesdays are always the busiest day of the week or whatever. And this month, it's my Fridays and Saturdays, or rather my Saturdays and Sundays that are the busiest, because that's when most of the markets are. I think is really helpful, and I'm glad that I do this, even if it's not one of my most used spreads. I think it helps me see what my month is going to look like. I think in future journals, I may go in and have a consistent color key for the entire year so I get used to it, but I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just kind of using whatever and then labeling them as I go. Then the next spread is my June projects and tasks. This is kind of where I put activities that I do once a month, or even something that I do every day during the month. It started out as a place where I put down things that I did monthly or weekly that I didn't want in my daily or weekly spreads. So for example, I make a little list for all my YouTube videos, and I like to try and list them out ahead of time so I can really just focus on creating the video when the time comes. It's easier if I have the ideas planned out already. I don't have to spend all this time thinking about what I need to be making. And then the things like reels or photos or writing or tarot, that's a new one you'll see. This is more so just for me to kind of track how frequently I do things. I do tend to try to post a reel every weekday and a photo every weekday, and writing, honestly, I would like it to be more frequent. It's just whenever I think to do it and I get a chance. Tarot, this is a new one. You will see it down at the bottom. It's just, more so of a tracking of how often it happens. And then I also have a spot for my newsletters. I do 2 newsletters a month, one for writing, one for art. You can sign up for one or both. There's a link in the bio. I guess that's my other self-promo. And then I also have a spot for my July postcard, because I like to design the postcard for the next month that I will be advertising before the beginning of the month, so I could hypothetically share the postcard on July 1st and say, hey, look, you can sign up for this, because I have a monthly snail mail club. And I also have a spot where I can remind myself that I need to go through all of my business receipts on QuickBooks and get them all organized and figured out. That's what the receipts section is for. And I do write down the dates. The reason the calendars look a little bit different is the weekends I don't have individual days between, because like I said, I don't usually post photos or reels on Saturday or Sunday, and I've just kind of transferred that over to the writing and tarot calendars as well. But I do like to have it there because I did the 1 month post something on a Sunday or a Saturday, I forget, and it made me mad that I didn't have a spot to put it and to track it. So now I include it. It's just I do it slightly differently so I know that I'm not planning on posting that day. I might, but I'm not planning on it. And like I said, I'm bringing in the new tarot calendar down here. It's just basically a smaller version of what I did last month, except I'm not writing down what I pull. It's literally just for me to make a mark use a highlighter probably. That's what I like to use in these spreads to mark the calendar boxes and just say, yeah, I did a tarot reading that day, or yeah, I did some writing that day. I posted a photo to Instagram, I posted a reel, etc. And I do like to write down all the ideas for the newsletters and the postcard, just like I do for the videos, just to try and make things easier on myself in the future. And then we have the weekly spreads. I usually only record one of these because they're all exactly the same. This is my version of a rolling weekly. I was inspired by the Plant-Based Bride. I don't think she's currently using these, but she has lots of videos explaining them if you're interested. I do like to put the weekdays at the bottom, so if there are events during the week that I want to know of without looking at the big monthly calendar, I can. And sometimes it's nice, for example, oh, on Monday I found out I'm going to visit a friend on Thursday. Well, I don't want to add that to the monthly calendar because it's all within the same week. So I can add it in on Thursday and not worry about it. I'm excited to show you. We're not quite there yet. I'll show you why I bought the Tombow mild liners. This is like the specific reason why. I wanted to continue with the striping, the sort of every other line colored, almost like a plaid. You'll see that I did in... I think I did in April and May, definitely May, but I wanted a lighter color. I didn't want to use the pink because the pink is kind of dark and I don't want it to be that saturated of a color, especially if I make a mistake. I don't want it to be that obvious. So I decided to buy a lighter version of each color that I was using this year, use that in my bullet journal, and it'll make things easier to know exactly where, what day I'm going to do something. For example, this new design just makes it easier to keep track of which column is which day and which row is which task. And then I do go down and I add highlighter to every other row on the weekly spread as well for the same reasons. And I decided to use the darker highlighter for that, as well as stamping in the dates. And I didn't do a great job on that first one, but it did get better. And then the final spread after the weekly spreads is June in Review. This is where I go at the end of every week and I write a little reflection of what the week was like, just because I found that's really helpful for me to just kind of know what I'm doing with my life, because I'm going to forget otherwise. Even in May, a lot of the weeks I wrote, I can't even remember what happened this week. It's been such a long week. So even just knowing that's important, I feel like it's really helped me understand my business and my personal life this year a lot more. And then I added more of the Tombow liner, of course, for color. And since I had extra space at the bottom, I included another quote from a book. I am not going to try and read the language at the top. It is Anishinaabe Moan is the name of it. It's a language of people indigenous to America, Ojibwe, I believe. This quote reads, "Books are good medicine," and it is from the author's note of The Firekeeper's Daughter, which is a YA mystery novel, and it was really good. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's by Angeline Boulet, and I would recommend it. It's very good, and I really like this quote because lately I've been reading a lot of really good books, and they really have been helping me process feelings and think about things that I don't normally think about, and it really is just enjoyable, and this quote just really felt apt for what's going on in my life. It doesn't have anything to do with reflection or reviewing, which is usually something that I like to kind of have as a theme for quotes when I have space for a quote on this spread, but I wanted to include this quote because I have really been vibing with including quotes from books that I have been reading. So this is the flip through at the very end. You can see my cover page. It's simple, but I like it. And then we have the June overview. I didn't include the notes section that I included last month because I didn't use it. And we have the June projects and tasks, and you can see a better look of my weekly spreads here. The lighting wasn't too good when I initially filmed them, but I didn't realize that until I was editing. So yeah, this is a good example of what they look like, and I really like this cross-hatching sort of guide, and I'm excited to try it out again this month. And then we have the June in Review. It's simple, it's sweet, and it's been very helpful and useful to be setting up my bullet journal this way. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you're doing in your bullet journal this month. Are you doing anything for Pride? I have done Pride setups in the past. I will link them down below or in the cards somewhere so you can check them out if you want. Of course, there's a whole playlist of all of my recent bullet journal endeavors. You can check that out. Yeah, I hope you will let me know what you thought down below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, ring the bell, all that silliness. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of time in the Stet studio with me today. Goodbye.